Hello, welcome to the fifth video in our series. So the next one we're going to be looking at Gatsby Benchmark 5, one that we're very much attached to as the Enterprise Advisor Network. So yeah, Debbie, so thoughts on Gatsby Benchmark 5?
Yep, so encounters with employers and employees. So there's an expectation for this benchmark that every student has at least one meaningful encounter per year, so from year 7 through to 13. And that where possible, encounters are aligned with the LEP's strategic economic plan. So we mentioned that, I think, in benchmark 2, the importance of educating everybody about Greater Lincolnshire's opportunities, its priority sectors. And so this is very much about that. All of the encounters, where possible, should be aligned to Greater Lincolnshire's economics. That's where all the opportunities are. And we know through research that students that have had 4 or more encounters are less likely to be NEET and are more likely to earn more money.
Yeah.
So it is really important. And we know that we really need to help young people get a better, richer picture of the world of work as it is now. It's changed so much, changed more than ever, hasn't it, over the last 18 months? My God, I can't believe the change in the structure of jobs and, the way that we work. And then you've got the whole issue of, the advancement of technology and automation. And, for our county, that's had really incredible impact. So it's sort of about, when we look at our jobs as enterprise coordinators, we're really about bridging the gap between education and employment. And then, we know that there's a gap there, and employers are always saying that young people, they're just not really work ready.
Yeah.
So using engagements with employers really helps bridge that gap and helps help our young people be more work ready. So, giving them some of the insights into what employers want them to be like.
I think as well, the more, and we've seen this over the pandemic, I think, where we've been able to get more employers into the classroom, whether that be virtual, more recently back to face-to-face. I think, schools have used employers as an opportunity to almost rebuild some confidence across the student population, I think, because when students do interact with people from employment, businesses, or whatever, there is that kind of, initially you see it, don't you, with there's very little interaction between the students and the employer, and then as the session goes on, the more interactions they have, they begin to feel more comfortable. You can see them come out of their shell a bit more. They're asking questions and things. So all of those kind of softer skills, if you like, that that's what generally people refer to them as, seem to the speed in which they develop, I think, comes across. It becomes quicker, I think, the more interactions that they have with employers.
Yeah, it definitely does. There's so many opportunities for schools to engage with employers and employees. Everything from career fairs, that's one, but making those encounters meaningful is a challenge.
Yeah.
Because it's important that they are meaningful. So making sure that if you are doing a careers fair, that you brief both the students and the employers to help them make it meaningful, do a bit of pre and post work. Other things that you and I have helped schools do are things like meet the employer, like a speed dating employer session, getting employers to come and help with mock interviews and CV clinics, and as well as, the usual assemblies and classroom talks. And I think assemblies are a really useful way of getting a lot of young people exposed to maybe careers and sectors they didn't know about. But we've got to make sure that those encounters are still meaningful. There is some element of opportunity for two-way interaction.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. I think what we want to try and encourage schools to move away from is just having a one model and have that across. For example, if you just do a careers fair and that effectively, probably does possible to kind of satisfy Gatsby Benchmark 5, but in reality, we want to try and encourage multiple different models that are in there. Do a careers fair, but also look to try and have employers come into curriculum lessons, because that way it starts to become, as we mentioned in the earlier one, about it becomes a culture, doesn't it, within the school, having employers coming in regularly. They're not just there to come in and disappear. They might be coming back to do different things as well. And I know one of the initiatives that we're looking to do next year is to have a form group mentoring program in which over the full academic year, business is going to adopt a year 11 form group. So they might come in 10, 12 times over the course of the year. It might be more, but they will start to have a bit of a working relationship with that form group over that period of time. So they're able to watch them grow. So that's another model that could work for your school as well.
Absolutely.
So there are lots of different ways you can approach it, isn't there?
And I think actually, yes, there's so many ways. I think it's worth maybe looking at developing an employer engagement strategy.
Yeah.
So actually to look at all of the different stakeholders that you could engage with, thinking about where could you get these encounters. And obviously you and I, we're a resource for that. So, we're always happy for schools to request help finding employers to come and support an event. But think about, again, your governors, your parents. We said, again, when we were talking about Benchmark 2, enlisting parents to come and do small talks and talk about their career pathways, really good. Ex-students, using that alumni that we talked about in Benchmark 3. One of my schools is putting together an employer forum. So they're looking at local employers, half a dozen or so, coming together as a bit of like an extended EA, but a forum of employers that really are going to support some meaningful encounters and to support the school in lots of ways. And I think where we can help schools develop this relationship with employers, so it isn't just a one-off, come and do something for us, and that, a relationship with employers and helping them to establish their own employer strategy, their own employer database, so that they're not always asking us to find, they're starting to develop their own network. And then working with employers becomes part of the culture as well. It's part of what they do. They plan it in at the beginning when they're looking at their program. Teachers are used to thinking about bringing employers in. In the last benchmark, we was saying how, to really make it meaningful, bringing employers into classrooms, even just for lesson starters or small projects, are so brilliant. And I think one of the barriers that schools always say when we try and encourage them to increase their encounters is, I can't take students off the timetable, can't lose curriculum time, haven't got time. And I think, I always think, well, that's good. I say, good. Because you don't need any extra time. Delivering what you're already delivering, but with the help of an employer, it's a win-win, really. It helps you increase your employer encounters. It brings your subject to life.
That's it. I think, again, we're tying benchmarks together, aren't you? It's almost using one benchmark to benefit the other. And I think that's a perfect example of how, in wanting to increase the amount of employers that come into the school, to do that through the curriculum is probably going to be the most effective way of doing it, isn't it? Because you're supporting your teacher to enrich their curriculum as well at the same time. I mean, probably just moving on to resources. You mentioned parents there. There is actually a really good resource on the Careers and Enterprise Company website. It's a parent pledge. That is a whole, I guess it's almost like a recruitment model as much as anything else to kind of create that almost database of keen parents that want to come and support. And we obviously have the Given Hour database. I'm sure everyone's heard of that by now. Effectively, you would be creating your own Given Hour database for your school by using that and launching that parent pledge.
And parents, they've got a vested interest in it, haven't they? And,
of course.
I mean, I used to be a secondary school teacher, and at parents' evenings, when I would talk to parents, you wouldn't believe how many parents said to me, "Oh, if ever you want me to come and talk about what I do, parents, where, there are lots of them really want to do something.
I was going to say, if anything, they'll just want to come and embarrass the kid, won't they?
Exactly.
If you offer them an opportunity to do that,
it's the job of a parent, isn't it? Yeah. To embarrass your kids. So I think, that is a really good resource. And I think alongside employer engagement strategy, parent engagement strategy is really important. We almost needs to be part of the culture as well, doesn't it? Parents Definitely. Just being part of that education and career journey of their young people.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can make some big strides in this, can't you? By maybe having two. Next academic year, pick 2 things that you want to do. That's a really good one. You got a plane going across or something there?
I have, yeah. I've just turned my mic off. Yes, it's
going. Yeah. What else was I going to say? I also quite like the idea of almost, networking is a bit of a buzz, and it has been, and will continue to be so. I mean, not that much has been happening the last year or so due to COVID, but things are starting to open up again. But one of the things that we were going to do before COVID up in Caister was to hold a business networking event at the school. Yeah. So the school was going to launch out to businesses.
Another one, Alex.
We got another one.
Carry on.
RAF. So they were gonna do a business breakfast for local businesses in Caister. They were going to do a letter inviting a bit of a networking opportunity for the businesses, but also after they've done the networking and provided a bit of breakfast, they were going to kind of ask them to get involved and support the careers curriculum. Again, they were kind of going to present their strategy and their careers program at that and ask for feedback at the time to get some evaluation from employers. And then they were also going to ask them to get involved at some stage as well. So again, it's about building your network, isn't it, as well? So and looking after them, I think, if you do ever tap into the Given Hour database and you've engaged with employers, don't just kind of leave them to it and forget about them. Look to try and involve them in something else.
Yeah, and actually, thank them. I know it's a bit an obvious statement, but, just to drop a line to say, thank you, this had great impact, here's some feedback, because I think we do forget sometimes to thank them, that, our employers, they're giving up their own time. And, but yeah, I think all employers, when they are engaging, they want to see something happening afterwards as a result of it. So I think there is always that opportunity to reach out to them and repeat things or develop something.
Yeah.
I mean, the virtual platform has been fantastic for schools. This sort of situation, this pandemic situation, has in fact created such an opportunity for schools to see different ways of engaging, and it's removed barriers for schools and it's removed barriers for employers. To ask an employer to travel an hour to do a 10-minute chat, it's not realistic. But now, schools have got used to zooming people into the classroom, and employers, they like the idea that they can actually be sat in their desk or walking around their office in delivering a very informal talk. It's not so terrifying for them as standing in front of 110, 15-year-olds or whatever. So I think, we need to embrace the virtual mode and have a blended approach, get events where employers are coming in, but also supplement that with, maybe for lesson starters, it's not always going to be practical to have an employer actually in. Well, then Zoom someone in for 10 minutes. It's, there's lots of opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not going to go away, is it? That, and the fact that across Lincolnshire was such a rural county, it takes so long to get anywhere. I think as a school, you'd be hampering yourself in terms of not engaging with that as an opportunity, I think, as well.
So I think, to summarise this benchmark, I would say program events in, and when you're planning things into Compass Plus, even if you haven't got a date yet, or even if you've got a date but you haven't got an employer yet, program it in and speak to me and Alex, and we can talk to you about opportunities. We can we can reach out to our own networks, our Given Hours. We can talk to you about reaching out to your networks that that you're going to be developing, But program something in, even if you haven't got a speaker or a date as such. Just decide when you're going to do something. Use employers on your drop down days. We've had some really, really interesting activities going on. So, using those opportunities and linking it back into Benchmark 4. So asking teachers to identify one opportunity where an employer could come and do something.
Great stuff. Another favoured benchmark for sure for us, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Great.